1970s, there was this British biking brand by the name of NVT, which was similar in size and scale to Harley-Davidson. But let me start with a show of hands. How many of you guys have heard or seen a Harley-Davidson bike around? Now, let me ask the same question about NVT. Considerably less. In fact, there's nobody in the audience that's heard of that. And there's no surprise. In the 1970s, there was a shift in the British biking industry. People began to prefer smaller bikes at a more affordable price point. And conversely, these brands like Harley-Davidson and NVT catered to a much more intricate audience that preferred these more larger designs. So how is it that Honda, the small biking company, was able to come along and disrupt and destabilize one of the largest and most established markets within Britain? Well, Honda was able to do three things correctly. First, they standardized the parts, so each of their bikes more or less shared the same components. Second, they used specialized factories, meaning that each factory was dedicated to building its own unique part. And the third thing they did was they made it so that their workers could very easily assemble and put all the components together. And so when you put all these ingredients together, you get this recipe for success, where Honda was able to go in and win in these international markets because of their ability to produce these bikes very quickly and cheaply. Now, as it goes, Harley-Davidson was actually able to survive this, and that's why we had our show of hands today, both because of a little bit of luck, but also because of their marketing. However, NVT actually went bankrupt because of this, and hence we had nobody that had seen one of their bikes before. Now, this seems like a very random story to open with. However, underlying this entire process was this very old manufacturing idea called the assembly line. And all Honda was able to do was take this existing assembly line idea, add some modifications and optimizations to it, and boom, they were able to go in and disrupt and destabilize some of these big titans within the British biking industry. So let's try to map this to our current economic system. We have our capital markets, which have been considered some of the most free by most metrics in the world, whether that be democratization, innovation, or just general monetary resources that we possess. And in a similar way, we have significant social challenges. We have domestic homelessness across our state. We have resource accessibility inequities around the world, and we have an impending climate crisis that requires a fast solution, among many more other problems. In a similar way, Honda had this challenge of having to go on and take on these big companies in international markets like the US and the UK that they weren't necessarily as familiar with. I believe that we can make modifications to our economic assembly line and use it and leverage it to go out and solve these social challenges. Now, in the past, the government has attempted to utilize their monetary resources to go out and solve and incentivize reform within these various sectors. And for the most part, they've been very successful. Job opportunities have been created, international cooperation has thrived, and most importantly, these problems have been addressed. However, there's also been some problems with the system, and one of the big ones we can look at was the March 2020 CARES Act. Now, while all of us were celebrating our 2-week vacation and getting ready to go on Zoom, our friends over in the US Capitol were passing a $2 trillion stimulus package. Now, what's interesting to note is that there's an almost equal allocation of funds that are going to individuals as well as large businesses. As you can see in the figure, approximately 30% of this package went towards individuals in the form of stimulus checks and social programs, and almost 25% of it went to these large corporations. Now, these large corporations were fundamentally mismanaged and not run responsibly. A lot of them were participating in stock buybacks, executives were getting paid huge bonuses, and frankly, there was a lot of wastefulness and frivolous spending. And so as a result, they had to be bailed out by the government. And what happened as a result of this was that a lot of money that could have gone to individuals in the form of greater stimulus checks and more social programs had to be taken away. On the contrary, capitalism was actually built and optimized so that we saved the money and we saved resources, and it was intended so that people could try to deliver products as fast as possible. Take the creation of the internet, for instance, where in less than 30 years, we've had an almost 5 million% increase in devices created. That's an absolutely insane amount of innovation. And every year, billions of dollars of investments are going into tech, and that number is only continuing to grow. So we set up this interesting challenge. How do we take this system that can crank out solutions in an insanely short amount of time and try to use it and leverage it to solve our social problems? Well, I believe that there are 3 possible solutions of reform. The first one is changing how the government structures its incentive programs. The second one is changing how we interact with businesses. And the third one is changing how we perceive our role within this broader economy. Now, the government has way too many actors. Every politician these days has their hand in the cookie jar and is trying to get a piece of that financial money. So as a result, meaningful reform is very hard to progress, and getting money to the businesses and people that need it the most is very difficult. However, there have been some projects that have worked, and one of the ones we can look at, we can turn to our own state, California, and see that California's EV program has been one of the most successful. 10 years ago, it would be almost impossible to think about driving an electric vehicle from San Francisco to Los Angeles. However, now, California residents are making conscious efforts to choose buying an electric vehicle like a Tesla over traditional gasoline cars. Now, this program has actually created a cycle that we can use to go out and catalyze solutions to solve these social challenges. Here's how it goes. You take the people demanding change in a certain sector, you set up the government to incentivize innovation within that area, and drive traffic and consumers to go and buy those products. And then you use the creations and the innovations that these businesses make to go out and address that challenge. However, I believe there's one more further step we can take to help further improve the efficacy of this entire procedure. Instead of just incentivizing a subset, why not seek to incentivize an entire sector? Meaning that instead of just incentivizing electric vehicles, why don't we instead seek to incentivize renewable energy as a whole? And when we do this, two things happen. The first thing is that the entire supply chain is going to be formed at the same time, meaning that the raw materials and how we gain the energy in the first place is going to be reformed at the same time as we are fixing electric vehicles and transportation. Now, the second thing that this does is this makes it so that more people can get involved. Not everybody has $30 million like Elon Musk did when he founded Tesla. However, all of us can go out and fund a couple of $1,000s or a couple of $1 million and try to fund our own smaller scale project, whether that be an app to track energy consumption or more at-home solutions like solar panels and power walls. If we incentivize across the supply chain, the rest of these solutions to these problems will begin to fall into place. Now, the second idea involves the role that we play in influencing companies. Now, during COVID, a lot of the economy acted with various trends, and a lot of them were set by retail investors. One of the big ones we can look at was during late 2020 with the EV trade. Now, I'm not going to be the best at explaining what happened to Tesla during this time, but I think this tweet by one of the top hedge fund managers in the world should do the trick. Right here, some amazing technical analysis by a Twitter account. You take the share price that Tesla was trading at, $664, you assume that everybody takes their stimulus check and bets it on Tesla stock. You add them together, and boom, you get this insane upside number, 90% upside. And while this was originally posted as a joke, what's funny is that almost a year later, that number came true, almost within $20. And so it was originally kind of a joke to ridicule those that were trading in the markets at that time. It turned out to create some type of change, and we were actually able to convince institutional companies like Ford and like GM to go out and make actual investments in the EV space. So in a way, businesses funnel money into this sort of cone, and the public acts as a sort of switch that can direct funding various ways. And while rallying on social sites and trying to get your friends to support you on social media can be impactful with the right amount of support, I believe that there's a more active way in which we can participate in the system, and it's through this economics idea called the products market and the resource market. Now, we can try to encourage companies to innovate in the products market and trying to make some change with what they're doing. However, we are actually the primary contributors in the resource market through two things: money, but most importantly, our time and where we decide to work. Instead of just looking at how much money we seek to make through a job, why not instead try to look to see how that company will seek to reform society in some type of meaningful manner, and what type of quantifiable steps, measurable goals are they taking to try to achieve that goal? Company cultures may seem great on paper, but how many of those companies also support unethical work conditions, take advantage of developing and third world countries, and waste extensive resources? These are some important questions to be considering when making a conscious choice within our economy. Now, this final idea revolves around entrepreneurism, and in my opinion, this is one of the most important ways which we can seek to bring about change. Now, it's sort of ironic I bring this up because outside of the Silicon Valley, this concept of starting one's own business is a very foreign idea. All of us have seen people start their own businesses firsthand, and we've seen them both succeed and fail, and some of us may even be trying to do that ourselves. However, when we take this framework, we wield an immense amount of power and responsibility in trying to make sure that both our actions represent the goals that we'd like to see society move towards, but also that the people around us are equally contributing to that vision of change we'd like to see. And so we come to this final realization. When you take all these three concepts together, you take the government changing how it incentivizes, you take these resources and product market idea, you take the concept of entrepreneurism, put them all together, we come to this term that I like to call cognizant capitalism. And cognizant capitalism is this ability for us, the consumers and future business leaders of the world, to become more aware of the power we wield in society, but then further act on that power to try to drive society forwards. And it starts right here, in an educational institution where we're standing, where every day we have here is a chance to learn about topics that will change the world forever. And it certainly doesn't end here. It doesn't end in college. This is a lifelong process that requires continual reform and improvement over an entire lifespan. We need to make sure that we have the knowledge that we can pass on to next generations such that we can pass on this torch of innovation and allow them the chance to go out and solve the challenges that they will face tomorrow. Become that politician that sets out to create a more fair economy. Become that business leader that sets out to solve the next generation of challenges. Become that teacher that sets out to educate the next generation of engineers, scientists, and artists, because all of us are part of this greater cognizant capitalist system. As we leave here tonight and head off to our jobs and work tomorrow, I encourage you all to take a step back during your day and really think about the potential we have to contribute to this cognizant capitalist economy and become a more active member and participator in our capital market system. Cognizant capitalism is the way forward, and we can all make a difference no matter how small. Thank you for listening. Thank you.